In this video, I'm going to be working on making Mame Bonsai from Lonicera cuttings. If you're new on my channel, consider subscribing to get notifications when I bring out new videos. Late last spring, I took some cuttings from my Lonicera mother plant, got those guys to root successfully, and now it's time to work the roots, set them up for success in the future. But if we're only just meeting, my name's Darren George, and my channel is all about bringing you information and inspiration as I grow my trees through the seasons. So what I've got here is Lonicera pileata. It's a shrubby honeysuckle, nice dainty foliage, flowers in the spring, summer, purple fruits in the autumn, and they are virtually indestructible. Actually, if you've ever managed to kill one of these honeysuckles, why don't you just go and write a comment down below. Nah, just kidding. No one's ever killed one of these bad boys. All right, first, let's have a look at how I took the cuttings and got them to root in the first place. I've cut them off, and so now let's go about cleaning them up and getting them ready to plant them. All right, what we've got here is a bit of a knuckle has formed where multiple branches have grown at the same spot, and that's formed a knuckle at this change of direction. So what I think we're going to have to do is cut through the knuckle, and where it's flaring, that could be our new Mame Bonsai's trunk base. So we'll lose this change of direction that we've got, but we'll have much better taper in the future. I'm not going to make the cut so that what will be the trunk is completely vertical. I'm going to cut through this knuckle at an angle, which will increase the illusion of taper, and it will also give us a bit of movement coming straight out of the soil. Now we've made that cut, we've got a nice, fairly relatively wide base from which to grow a new set of roots. Because the secateurs are quite crushing as they cut, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with a razor sharp knife and just clean this up so that we get hopefully a nice even distribution of new roots around that cut site. As I do this, I am just cutting into that green layer of cambium just slightly, just to ensure that any cut to those cells are nice and clean, and as it calluses we'll get a nice, hopefully we'll get a nice even distribution of roots around the whole section of the trunk. Okay, that's looking nice and clean now. Sets us up for maximum success. Looking at this chunk that I've cut off here, we've got a fairly thick section of trunk, and we've got some side branches coming off of it at quite sharp angles. So I'm just trying to think what we're going to do with this. Okay, I think with this section I'm going to cut this off here, treat that as the base, and then have a fairly upright cutting. Same deal as before, let's just make sure everything's nice and clean. There we go. We've now got our two cuttings all prepared to be planted. So the soil that I'm using for these cuttings is 4 parts molar clay and 1 part bark chips. I put a small layer of soil into the pot, put the cutting, if it will go, as close to the bottom as I can, like so, and then I will fill quite high. Give it a gentle wiggle to make sure it's all bedded down nicely. And what we've got is the bottom of the cutting where the roots will form is quite low in the pot. And what will happen is that'll help the new roots that grow to spread. Instead of growing directly down, the roots will spread nicely. And by filling the soil quite high in the pot, is going to help stabilise the cutting so that it doesn't readily move around. Okay, let's do the second cutting. Start with just a very thin layer at the bottom, and then fill reasonably high. I don't want to bury all of the foliage, but the higher I can get the soil into the pot, the more stable that it's going to be. Make sure that there's not too many air spaces. Give it a little wiggle to make sure it's bedded down nicely. And there we have it. These will now get some water, and I'm going to put them in my greenhouse. Now I'm going to repot one of my established cuttings, have a look at the roots, see what's going on down there. Always a massively exciting time for me. Let's do it. How cute is that berry? Oh, they're so sweet, honestly. And they're in great proportion as well. All right, let's take this one out of the pot. It's very characteristic of Lonicera to send roots down to the bottom of the pot, and they'll very, very aggressively grow from the drainage holes. Got to keep an eye on them because they can very easily root themselves to the ground. Oh, gotta love them. Okay, so let's see about investigating this root ball. I'm going to very, very carefully start freeing up the roots. I'm doing my absolute best not to tear or rip or damage these fine feeder roots. I mean, this species, they're super tough, they can take it, but there's, you know, if we can avoid doing the damage, let's avoid doing the damage. So I've got a nice loose grip. I start at the bottom. Just going to free up this mat of roots at the bottom. I'm letting the tool do the work here. I'm not shredding, I'm not ripping through tangled roots. One or two are going to be breaking, it's unavoidable. But I'm just, you know, I'm not forcing my way through. I'm just teasing this bottom mat of roots out so that we can make some progress further up the root ball. Okay, it's starting to come loose now. I'm being even more gentle with these roots because they're less than a year old. Okay, so now the bottom's nice and loose. I'm going to come down from the top. The goal now is to find where the cut site is, because that's where the majority of the roots are going to be growing from. We'll find that site, we'll find the chop, the original cut, and then have a look at the root system, see what we've got. Anytime that I feel like I've hit a thicker root, I try to find where that root is and work around it. I'm not looking to yank the thing out or snap through it or rip it to pieces. All I'm trying to do is remove the soil from the roots, not the roots from the tree. Still searching, getting deeper and deeper, the roots are getting thicker and thicker. Searching for the point where the majority of the roots are coming from. Good Lord, they sure do produce a lot of roots. Now that I've got the roots cleaned up, it's time to go in, trim the roots a bit, make sure all the cuts are nice and clean so that roots can form quickly in the future and that the recovery from this operation is going to be nice and quick. Okay, so I've trimmed the roots back now as far as I want to go, and I've exposed this flat section just in here. That's where the cutting was taken. And what we want is we want these roots to continue to grow in quite a flat plane to encourage a nice radial root system to form as these roots continue to grow and thicken. So that I can be sure that the roots are going to grow in a fashion that is aesthetically pleasing in the future, I'm going to use this little gadget that I've created that's going to spread the roots out and really encourage that wider base at the bottom. So here I've cut a rough circle shape from the plastic lid of an instant coffee jar. I've made 2 holes and I've passed some wire through those holes. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a convenient place to very carefully pass these pieces of wire around the roots. Push that in nice and close so that it splays out those roots. So I'm going to now secure the wires in place, being careful not to damage either the roots or any of the existing branches. And then I'm going to, as carefully as I can, loosely fasten the wires, cut them a bit shorter so that it's a bit easier to work with. Okay, there we go. So we don't need perfection, just that barrier in place is going to ensure that those roots continue to grow outwards in a nice radial direction. Okay, that's the roots all done. Let's get these guys planted in some substrate and then we can go on and water them. Unlike the new cutting that I took earlier, I'm going to plant this one high because we've got this mechanism to ensure that we get a good root spread. I'm going to plant this one high and allow it room for the roots to grow and thicken and develop the branches. I'll start with the same substrate as earlier to pot this one up. I will fill about halfway. Good. Now that I've filled halfway, I'll build a small hill in the middle to ensure we get good soil contact with the roots underneath. And now it's a case of tucking the roots in as best we can. And then settling the base of the trunk down into that mountain that we made to ensure we get good contact with the soil. I'm going to tie this in place fairly securely. Okay, that's secured in nicely. Get some soil on top of the root base. Okay, so now this one's secured and potted up nicely. There's only two more jobs to do. I'm going to apply a small amount of moss as a top dressing, and then it's a case of watering and putting the tree in the greenhouse to recover. Okay, that's this one done. If you found this video useful, please do hit the like button. Any questions, give me a comment, and hopefully I will speak to you soon. Thanks for watching.